Hello and welcome to this week's development log for Blink. It is about 7 a.m. on Monday morning, and as I often do to start out the week, I'm going to sit down at Trello and kind of plan out the development tasks that I want to work on. So let's get started. My main goal for this week is to improve the gameplay of Blink and make it feel a little bit better on a real mobile device. As I play it here on my PC, I don't have trouble grabbing him and dragging him around, and it's kind of fun to sling him around the screen. However, on a mobile device, when you touch the Firefly with your finger and move him, the fact that he kind of lags behind your finger almost makes it feel like your device is performing badly. It's not really a great user experience. So I think I really kind of need to change up the gameplay a little bit. And I know what direction I want to take it in, and it's kind of hard to describe, so I'll probably end up just showing you the progress once I've done the work. But basically, I just want the Firefly to track a lot closer, and rather than the circle behind him just kind of getting bigger and smaller based on how close you are to the target, I want there to be a timing component where the circle behind the Firefly is constantly growing and you need to release him inside of the target circle once the sizes of the circles match. So that's the plan for right now. I'm going to get started on a little bit of that rework, and I will give you guys an update once I have one. Alrighty, so in the past hour I've made some good progress towards transitioning my gameplay model over to what I hope will be something a little bit more satisfying for the player. So I'll go ahead and show it to you. Basically, I removed the lag in between the player and the mouse when you drag him around, or in the case of a real player on a mobile device, the player and their finger. And also you'll notice that the circle behind the player continues to fill no matter how close or far they are from the target circle. What that's going to do is introduce a timing component to the gameplay where not only do you want to move the player to the target circle, but you want to release the player when both of the circles are the same size. So that'll be kind of an extra gameplay element there to perform well if you have good timing. So I'll go ahead and show that again. I don't have this actually tuned up with the scoring or anything. I just kind of have the basics working here in terms of how the circle fills up. So I have a couple more things to do, but this is kind of, I think this is going to be an improvement. Like I said, I'm going to do some more improvements, get it onto my phone, and try it out and see if it's actually better. Anyway, for the time being, I'm pleased with that progress, and I got to go to work, so I'll catch up with y'all later. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. It's Wednesday at about 6:45 a.m. I'm just out here on the porch checking out the sunrise. Honestly, one of my favorite parts about waking up in the morning and being productive is spending some time outside in the morning, taking in the sunrise and just breathing some cold, fresh air. It's really refreshing, and it's a great place to reflect on what you're going to do for the day. Anyway, now that I've been out here for a few minutes, it's time to go inside, warm up, get some coffee, and get started on Blink. Alrighty, so this morning we are just hopefully going to finish up our gameplay rework, which we started on Monday. And this is the conversion from a more physics-based gameplay experience to one that's a little more precision and timing, where you have a little more control over the Firefly. The last three tasks I have are to randomize the size of the target circle, to randomize the fill speed of the player circle, and finally to incorporate both of those things into the scoring and reward system so that you are rewarded for doing well and punished for doing poorly. So I'm going to get to work on that. Alrighty, so it's about 7:45 and just finished up the gameplay conversion tasks for the morning. So I'll go ahead and show you what the new gameplay looks like. Basically, rather than flinging the Firefly around the scene and bouncing him off the walls as we were before, we've got much more of a tight response where he follows the mouse, or on a real mobile device's case, your finger. And there's also this concept of the ever-expanding player circle, which ideally you want to time your release of the player such that the two circles on the screen match in size. So that's the new gameplay loop, and the only really big consideration I had to make over on the code side was how we calculate accuracy for scoring. Previously, we were just calculating positional accuracy, meaning how close the player is to the target circle when you release him. And we're still doing that here. But now we're also taking into account your accuracy with the fill size. And the way I'm doing that is with the local scale, both of the target circle and the player's circle. And I'm just calculating the accuracy based off of that. And that's working quite well. I'm able to take the average of those and get a general accuracy value for each time you release the player. So now I just have to balance that and yeah, probably put it on my mobile device and see how it actually plays to see if it's truly an improved experience over my previous iteration. So I will see what I need to do next. Well, it's probably time for me to wrap things up this morning, but I do have an idea of where I want to focus my efforts later this week. I really want to focus on this particle effect idea, which is going to be a particle explosion when you release the player Firefly. It'll be bigger or smaller based on how accurate your circle fill was. And I think this is going to be a really important gameplay enhancement because it's going to give the player an instant sense of gratification and reward for each circle that they fill, rather than just waiting at the end of 5 or 10 circle fills to see how their accuracy was, over the last however many seconds that took. So I think this is going to be a fun enhancement. I'm looking forward to learning about Unity's particle system, and I'll catch up with you guys once I have some progress on that. Hey everyone, and welcome back on this beautiful Friday morning. It's about 6:30 a.m., 60 degrees outside, super pleasant. You guys haven't heard from me in a few days since this week's actually been pretty busy. We spent a little bit of time on the road traveling to visit Kate's parents. We had a company meeting the other night, so that took up a lot of time after work. And yesterday we actually spent some time with friends exploring a nursery nearby and picking out some new plants, which I've got on my desk and I'm stoked about them. So anyway, it's Friday now. We've got some time to sit down and work on Blink, so that's what we're going to do this morning. Alrighty, well, it is way past the point where I should have stopped working on this and started getting ready for work, but I've been stuck on this all morning. It's driving me nuts. I'll go ahead and show you what I've been doing. Basically, on my player prefab here, I've added a particle system. As you can see, for the most part, it looks pretty good. I think this is a happy starting point, and I would be fine just to, get this working and tweak it from here. And I can play it, and I see these particles fly out, and that looks fine to me. But if we go back to our main scene here, you can see that the particles are showing up behind my background here. I'll go ahead and play that again. You can see just the highlights of them, and once they come out from behind the background, they're actually yellow, so you can actually see them. Now if I disable the sprite renderer for the background, and we go back here and try that again, of course we can see that the particles are yellow, everything looks fine. I have been trying a bunch of different things to try and figure out what's going on here. Pretty much just everything in the renderer portion of the particle system in the inspector here. I know that my sorting layer is in front of the sorting layer that I'm using for the background. I've tried a couple different things with the material that I'm using. Anyway, I just can't figure this out this morning. Unfortunately, I have to get ready for work, so I guess there will be another entry sometime this week, and hopefully I can get this wrapped up. Hey guys, it's Friday afternoon. Just got back from work. It's about 5:30. Got about an hour before my friend's coming in from out of town, and I'll probably be busy for the rest of the night. So, in the next hour, I'm hoping to fix the problem that I had this morning with the particle system. They say you're supposed to be a better developer after one beer, so we're gonna drink a beer, and we're gonna fix this problem. Alright, so check this out. I've been playing around for a few minutes, and I think I found a clue by messing around in the editor here. I created this standalone particle system so that I could drag it around in the scene hierarchy and see how it was interacting with the other game objects I have. And I found that no matter where I put it here, these particles are always spawning and showing up behind my background. So what I ended up doing was messing around with my background a little bit. And as I was playing with the Z value up here in the transform, I found that the further forward I moved it, or perhaps further back. Anyway, the higher the Z value, the more these particles showed up. And I realized that as these particles are spawning and moving, their Z value must be changing in a way that's putting them behind the background. So now that I know that and I have that clue, I'm going to go ahead and try to figure out what I can change in the particle system to prevent that from happening. Okay, so after a little more work, I think I'm moving in the right direction here. If you can see the inspector here, what I actually changed was this velocity over lifetime value. I changed the space value to world rather than local, and then I set the Z value to -20. Now this kind of seems like a magic number, so I'm not totally sure how I feel about it. But if I play this now, I'm able to see the particles appear over the background. And as you'll see, there's still a problem. Because the particle system is a child of the Firefly, they're going to follow him around, which does not really look great. I think the solution here is going to be to move this this particle system component into its own game object, perhaps underneath the game world, so that when I want to see a particle explosion, I can move this game object to the same world location as the player and fire off the particle animation. So I think I'm going to get to work on that now, and we'll see how that turns out. Alrighty, so I'm here with pretty much my last update of the evening before my buddy shows up. Unfortunately, I'm still not quite there, but I did make a bunch of progress. This particle stuff is turning out to be more difficult than I thought. But anyway, I've implemented kind of what I talked about. I've got a more global particle system here. And right now it's just sitting at the origin, and when I release the circle, the particle system immediately fires. And I've got these nice little particles that rotate, and that all looks dandy to me. I'm pretty happy with that. However, over here on the script side, if I enable this line that moves the particle system to the player when I release the player, which is what I want to happen because I want the particles to spawn underneath the player's location. If I go ahead and make that change, then there seems to be some kind of delay, about a second in between, or even longer than that, between when I release the mouse and when the particles fire. I don't really know why that's happening. I guess this line is just really taken a little bit longer to execute than I would expect. So anyway, I need to rethink kind of my strategy for how I'm positioning this particle system, but at least I've got it showing up on the screen, so I'm happy with that for now. I don't even know how much time I'm going to be able to devote to this weekend, so I'm just going to have to put a bookmark on this and make sure I come back to it and configure this thing out. Alright, right after I ended that clip, I just thought of the solution for this. I just need to attach the particle system to the target circle. The target circle is where the player is going. It's going to have a fixed position. I'm not going to need to move the particle system around, and that should just work great. I should be able to call the play on the particle system when the target circle is destroyed. So that should all just work. I don't know if I have time to implement that right now, but I made an ear note here in Trello to just with that idea. So what I'm going to do is not in this video until I implement that, because I have a good feeling that's going to work. So hopefully this weekend I'll have time to get to that. I'll catch up with you guys later. Hey everyone, good morning. It is about 8:15 on Sunday morning, and I'm pleased to announce that even though I had company in town this weekend, I did find a little bit of downtime to work on Blink, and I was able to get the particles working as I wanted to. I'm going to make a couple finishing touches this morning, and I'll show you the progress I made and how I achieved that. And then we'll probably end up wrapping the video up, and I'll spend the rest of the day working on editing this video. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alrighty, I finished the tweaks to the particle system, and I'll go ahead and show you how that works. First off, I'll apologize for my voice this morning. With the warm weather, I've had like some really weird allergies, but anyway, we'll get into it. So on the left here, you can see the prefab for my target circle. And what I've done here is add a particle system component to this prefab, and in here I've done nothing special really. I've just been kind of tweaking the particles to look how I want them to look. They're going to rotate over time, they're going to shrink over time, and they basically look like this, right? So I'm happy with that. The question is just getting that to play programmatically and when I want it to. So if we hop over here to the code, in my main game world class and inside the function that we call when the circle has been filled and we want to get rid of the target circle, the first thing I'm doing is we're calculating the number of particles that we want to show based on the accuracy of the circle fill. That's really simple right now. If you have really great accuracy above 95%, then we have a whole bunch of particles. If you did less than 95%, say 80, we just return the number of your accuracy divided by 2. So 80% accuracy would result in 40 particles. Basically just a much smaller reward than if you did really exceptional and you got a big explosion. So moving on from there, once we have those particles, we're going to tell the target circle to go ahead and explode, and we're going to tell it how many particles we want it to show. So if we hop over to there, that's pretty simple. I want to first hide the sprite renderer, which is just this yellow circle here, and stop rotation, because we want it to look as if the target circle's gone away and it stopped rotating, but we don't actually want to destroy it yet. Finally, we play this coroutine to show the particles. And in this coroutine, all we're doing is creating a new burst with the number of particles that we want to show. We're setting that on the particle system, and then we call play. My particle system is set up to only have a 3-second duration, so I could probably match these up or find a better way to do this. But basically, I just want to wait for this animation of these particles to finish, and once that's finally done, we will destroy the game object. So that cleans up everything, and it looks pretty cool, so let's go check it out. I'll try to have some poor fills and some good fills here so you can see the difference. Start out with a good one. So that was, I think, 200 particles right there. That was a high accuracy fill. Now if I do a poor one over here, you see we only get maybe about 20 or something. I'll try that again. Really far away, yep, just about 5.
if we get close, starting to see more, and then we see a big one if we do it perfectly. And I think this is like some really cool feedback that we're seeing here. I'll actually try to do well here, and you can see when you zoom out to a new locale, you see all these particles flying around. It just looks really cool. It's probably needs some balancing, because I'm sure I'm showing too many right now. And it seems to be too easy to get this big particle explosion here. I just think that looks really cool. I'm really pleased with that. All right, so we finally figured out the particle system. I think it's probably time to go ahead and wrap up this video. Alrighty, thanks everyone for watching this week's development log for Blink. It felt throughout the week as though I wasn't making much progress, but now that we're at Sunday and I can reflect on the work I've done, we pretty much overhauled the entire gameplay system to be a little more responsive and kind of change the fundamental way things work in Blink. And then we also added the really cool enhancement of particles, which took me longer than I thought, but at the end I think it was really worth it. I appreciate you guys who've been leaving feedback and comments. It's great to hear from you, and I'll see you in the next video.